Hi, this is Nicole Rivera, and you're listening to the Stop Writing Alone podcast. This week, I'm continuing the series of the Happy Campers interviews, and I have for you Susie Taylor. If you've been a long-time listener of the Stop Writing Alone podcast, this will not be the first time that you've heard from Susie. Susie has shared her writing with us from year one. She's been in a number of the group calls. She's given us feedback for when Susie and I read The Artist's Way together. Either way, you've heard Susie, you've gotten these little teeny tiny tastes of her along the way, but this is a wonderful opportunity to get all of Susie for the whole episode, to learn her story of how she took ownership of her writerness, of her history as a journalist, and her work in copywriting now, and juggling all those writer identities with the mom life identity and showing up over and over again in so many magnificent ways. I can't wait for you to hear all that is Susie Taylor. I will note, while I was listening and producing this episode, when I listen on my headphones, there's a slight, I guess, reverb or something on Susie's audio. But when I listen without my headphones, it's not there. I've tinkered with the audio to sort of bring it down a bit, but if it's if you're hearing it and you're looking for a quickie solution, no headphones for this week is what I would say, and that's fine, because sharing Susie with the world is not a bad idea. And with that, I will turn it right over to her. Enjoy the listening this week. I am here today with Susie Taylor, one of my good writing buddy friends from the Happy Campers Club here in Stop Writing Alone. We're going to have so much to talk about, you and I think, here about writing community. But why not let everyone know where are you physically, and where can people find a little bit of your writing?
Okay, well, I am actually located in a little teeny tiny town just west of Columbus, Ohio, and I write a blog, a weekly blog. Well, I'll start writing a weekly blog again at Stix-n-Stones. It's and I'm sure the link will be in the show notes. Absolutely. And then I have another website called Susie Taylor Writes, because I'm also a freelance writer. I do some freelance copywriting, and so I use that for the folks who I'm trying to encourage to become my clients.
I love it. I love it. And yeah, I will definitely have the links in the show notes. Particularly of use will be Stix-n-Stones, because I remember when we first met and you were like, I have Stix-n-Stones.com, and I tried to Google it, and it's such a popular phrase, first of all, that there's like stores, there's other blogs, there's websites. I'm like, this doesn't sound like Susie. This doesn't sound like Susie. So for anyone that is
the one
anti-show notes, the spelling is Stix, and then a dash, and the letter N, and then a dash, and then STONEZ.com.
Yes.
So
the one thing they tell you when you start to look for a domain is, do not use weird spellings of words, do not use dashes. But I had it in my heart that I was going to use Stix-n-Stones. For some reason, that has always been something that I've gravitated toward. And so it took me quite a while to figure out how I could still use Stix-n-Stones. But I broke every rule.
I love it, because now it's ingrained in me. I'm like, Susie's the X and the Z, and I can find you so easily. But what was it about? Because I love that that it's not really a separate blog entry. It's like your intro page. What is the whole philosophy behind your Stix-n-Stones?
The whole, I guess my tagline is, words are powerful. Use them with compassion. And I just keep thinking of that old childhood rhyme or limerick of "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me." And I'm here to say that words do hurt, and the way we use them is important. And we need to be aware of the words that we're using and how we're using them and how they impact other people. And so that's the basic premise behind the whole blog. I take a little liberties every now and then to do some different things, but it's basically just, can't we all just treat each other like we like each other and be happy and a little naive, but still, can we just think about each other for a minute rather than ourselves? So that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that, because when I first read it and you started off by talking about the old phrase, "Sticks and stones," and, words may never hurt me, I was just thinking we were just going to follow that line of thought. And so when you twisted it and said, no, words do hurt, it was one of those things that, one of the things I love about reading, when you read something and you sort of catch your breath for a second, because it's just truth, like that's the capital T truth. Words can hurt. And I was like, oh, yes, Susie is my people. We get this. This is fantastic. So how long have you been writing on Stix-n-Stones? Did that predate the copywriting aspect of your writing career, or what's the journey there?
Well, I started freelance writing after my second son was born. And so I've been doing freelance work since, oh goodness, 1995. But then when the third son came along and it got a little bit more crazy with 3 boys, I really pushed back and or pulled back and kept one client, basically kept one client through all that time. And then that client went away a few years ago. And that's when I started thinking about, I need to think about this a little bit more seriously again. And that's when I found you and found Sam Kimberly and found Kathy Heller and a whole bunch of other people who just really inspired me to just do it, just bite the bullet and do it. And I started the Stix-n-Stones domain probably in 2019, but I did not start 2018. I did not start actually writing until June 2020.
Wow.
And I wrote every week.
I didn't realize that. Wait.
Yeah, it was June 2020.
You hadn't been writing on Stix-n-Stones that whole time? Like, I thought you... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I posted maybe 3 posts.
Okay.
Over the period of a couple of years, or maybe a year. But I didn't start taking it seriously until really I was writing with you and listening to you and listening to Sam Kimberly. And in all honesty, Sam is the one who really encouraged me to just start writing.
Great.
And I'm afraid that if it hadn't been for Sam, I probably would still be stuck in the, I have to do it perfectly before I can do it at all stage.
Right.
So I have you and Sam to thank for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that perfection mindset is somehow linked to the copywriting, the writing for a client, or, where do you think that trap, really? I mean, we all get ourselves into the trap one way or another, but there's usually like one voice that sort of built it in our brain. Do you think it was from that or something else? Oh,
it's my dad's voice. My dad, I loved him to death, but he was also a very, very demanding man. And I am one of 6, and I would come home with a test, and I would have gotten a 95 on it. And his question was that the highest in the class? Why didn't you get 100? Didn't you study enough? You need to study more so that you get 100 and you get the highest grade in the class. And I found myself becoming a huge procrastinator, because if I procrastinated long enough, maybe I wouldn't have to do it. And then he wouldn't judge me.
Right.
And it wasn't until I started to get into podcasts and self-improvement that I realized that procrastination is actually a symptom of being a perfectionist.
Yes.
And that's something that I have struggled with my entire life, and have just within the last couple of years been working on that. So yeah.
Yeah, I think you and I are in the same boat on that one, even on the path of discovery. It was such an aha for me that I was like, wait, I'm a perfectionist. I'm so like at ease and chill and cool, but I happen to also be a massive procrastinator. Why am I putting these things off? Because I haven't figured out how to do them right yet, quote unquote. Yes. See, that's why I never thought I was a perfectionist. I never used the word perfect. I just had right. Like everything has a right and a wrong way, rather than just do it, like you said. So yeah. And I think that the fun thing for us, Susie, is that, as I said, we've sort of been on this journey together, because we were in a lot of Sam's groups together, having these different types of discussions. You talked about Sam Kimberly and Kathy Heller. Can you remember how the discovery happened? Was it that we all sort of met up in Kathy Heller's group, and then sort of, or did you and I meet through Sam? I'm trying to remember how it all happened.
If I remember correctly, I found Don't Keep Your Day Job, that podcast.
Yes.
Probably 2018.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Or somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And became just a religious listener of that podcast. And then somewhere along the line, whether it was in the Facebook group or something, I saw a post from you about Stop Writing Alone. And it must have been after you took her podcasting course.
Yes.
Because I saw Kim Floden's announcement too at the same time.
Okay.
And I actually started listening to Stop Writing Alone, and you are what got me into The Artist Way, because the very first episode I listened to was your discussion on morning pages.
Oh yeah.
And I started writing morning pages from that moment on. It was really kind of fun, because my mom was living with us at the time. And so I would stop every morning and I would be writing, and she'd come out and she'd be like, oh, you're writing. I'll be quiet. And it was just like, and it's just morning pages. It's not anything huge, humongous.
Right.
And it probably took my husband about 3 months to say, you've been getting up early and writing every morning. What is that?
Husband.
Yeah. So yeah. So it was just sort of like this slow transition. And then I started to really just listen to what you were saying, and you introduced me to Sam, and that's how I got into Sam's group. And then I don't think I did the first Happy Camper session that started in April. I started with the June session, and that is when I started to look at myself as a writer. Because
I kind of remember you coming in and being like, I'm not sure I'm a writer. And I'm like, what is this lady talking to me about right now?
Yeah.
It's really funny to me, because I have struggled with that in the past. I think every writer has at some point. But when we look at someone else and we see what they're producing and what they're doing every single day, we're like, well, they're clearly a writer. And then that person says, I haven't thought of myself as a writer. You're like, what? What am I?
Yeah.
What am I? So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. People would ask me, I would meet people and say, what do you do? Well, I'm just a mom, but I write a little bit every now and then. And well, what do you write? Oh, just stuff. Nothing really
Right.
I write for this magazine. It's not anything big. It's just this monthly column, and not anything super. And then
Just write a
I heard
monthly
your
column.
podcast on, and then I heard your podcast on stop calling yourself an aspiring writer.
Yes.
Because if you're writing, you are a writer. And that's when I started to tell people I'm a writer. I'm a freelance writer, and I write a blog. And because that's, by that time I had started writing my blog too.
Right.
And it's interesting to feel, being a mom is probably one of the most important job I have had in my life.
Yeah.
But society doesn't give being a mom a lot of credibility and respect.
Yeah.
And so when I could tell people I'm a writer, suddenly I felt like I was confident, and I had a purpose, and I was a real person because I had a real job. And so that's now that you're asking me all these questions, it's amazing to me how important you have been in my development as a writer, because I never really thought about it before until you started asking me questions. And now I'm like, oh, Nicole, you're my lady.
Well, I mean, and the thing is that I think like this moment and this realization that you're having about that simple tweak of changing from being an aspiring writer to calling yourself a writer, it's monumental. And the similar thing had happened to me some random day on Tuesday on Twitter, like it was, and it probably was Tuesday because that's when I went to my Twitter chats, and somebody caught it in my profile that I had written aspiring writer. And they were like, do you write? I mean, you're sitting here talking about NaNoWriMo, this and that. Like, get that out of there. And it was such a simple, it was contained within a tweet, such a simple thing this person tossed at me. And I was like, everybody that's writing needs to know this, and that's really what it comes down to. And like I said, it's, to me, made sense that I was aspiring because I hadn't published anything. I was just sort of writing in my private corner. But to hear that you still needed that message at the point of, publishing, being in print areas, pages that people can find, I think, it goes both ways. I may have helped you make that realization, but then you further help me understand that it's a issue we all have, and it's something that is so important to discuss over and over again, because just like being a mom and that not getting the outward value that it totally deserves, it often happens when we are creatives at home that people in the quote unquote real world don't necessarily understand what's going on. So we have to embrace the value of what we're doing and who we are. So, yeah, Susie.
Well,
that's
but
wonderful.
in my life, BC, before children, I was a reporter. So that's what I did. I was a reporter, but I never looked at myself as a writer. I just looked at myself as, I told somebody else, I would tell somebody else's stories.
Right.
That's not writing. That's just regurgitating facts and figuring out a way to put it together so that people will read it and whatever. But I think this is a perfect example too of how important writing community is.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't until I got involved with Stop Writing Alone and Happy Campers that I found myself writing on a regular basis, communicating with other writers, considering myself to be on par with other writers, and that's where this whole community comes into play, which is why it is so important.
And so, do you think it's the accountability bit, or just I don't want to use the word community again, but that that sense of belonging in a space of others that sort of get it. Like, what do you think is that magic piece that makes it important to this process?
I realized that my feelings were not unusual. That when I sat down and I had a project that I had to do, and I would do everything else except for that project, I used to think, well, that means I'm not a writer. Because if I were a writer, I would sit down and I would get it written and I would do it. And listening to other people talk about how I need to get this article written, but I need to do my laundry and my dishes are dirty and I need to clean off my desk. And then I'm seeing myself in that, because that's exactly what I do when I have something that has to get done. And I realized that it wasn't just me. That everybody has those feelings. And writing is not easy.
No.
I used to think that, if I were a real writer, I would sit down, I would get it done, the words would come, it would spill out, I would get everything finished. And it's just so comforting, I guess, to listen to the other folks in the group talk about, I need to get this done, but I don't want to do it, and whatever. So I'm not alone. I am not alone.
Oh yeah.
I kind of feel like Horton hears it too. We are here.
I love that the idea that you thought, because I can definitely identify with this. You thought that you couldn't call yourself a writer because you were struggling, that the struggle was proof that you weren't there yet, or what have you. I love that, because I think that is one of the things, and I'm pretty sure I talked about it on the podcast and probably in Happy Campers too. One of the most enlightening things for me as a writer, this is going to sound so silly, that I get my inspiration from weird spaces. Okay. So one of the most inspiring things for me as a writer was to watch the deleted or unused scenes from the Muppet movie, the new one that they made, because I'm a massive Muppet fan. I got my Kermit over here. This is just Muppets for Life situation. And I got the DVD and I was watching deleted scenes, and they were scenes that were filmed and they full production and everything. And it had nothing to do with the story that the movie ultimately became. And so it was like so completely different. And I was like, wait a second, they filmed that. They thought that was the story. And then they changed it. They changed it all. That movie that I watched was not what they started out with. So it got my head clicked with about revision. Revision is a real thing, that there's not this moment where you're like, I'm done, I'm ready to go. Like, they were quote unquote done and off to filming, and then still did some sort of massive revision after that. And I was like, oh, so I can still be working on my story right now. I shouldn't be done yet. Part of the process is to continually do that. So yeah, learning that struggle. And you're right, seeing other writers in the trenches and battling out with their own stories. It's like, okay, so this is the work. This is how it's done. I'm not less than because I haven't just, poured out perfect words on my first run. Right. Oh, I love it. So Susie, one of the things that I was really excited to talk to you about is the fact that you aren't just in the Happy Campers Club. You are in a number of different writing and creative communities. You're active member in Stop Writing Alone Always, but like you've already mentioned, you've been active member with Sam Kimberly, where we were together in the Creative Life Scholars, which was like a really great intensive book club / course where we did Artist's Way, we did Martha Beck books, we did so many different things there. But you were also in Sam's CAP groups. And am I right? You're also with Tammy Brightweiser? Were you in her push?
I was in her push group,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I haven't been able to, I haven't been able to participate recently. I wish I could get back to it, but and this is going to sound so lame, but they're usually at 8:30 at night, and I'm usually a in bed by 9 o'clock kind of person.
You're wrapping up. You're wrapping up.
Not very, I'm not really with it at 8:30 at night. I'm more thinking of, man, get my pajamas on and go watch some TV or do some crocheting or something for a few minutes or whatever. But yes, so that's such a lame reason. But
no, that's
sleep is important.
Yes. I'm going to say that is, I definitely feel like I'm becoming an adult now, because I'm very much understanding the importance of having the unwind in my schedule, that I'm not, because I've always been like a night owl, but literally like working until I'm putting myself under the blankets, and it's ridiculous. And now I'm incorporating the turn it off and unwind, and I feel so much better for it. So I someone might say that's lame, but I hear you. I'm with it. If that's your unwind time, that has to be sacred. But my question to you is, and you also are a member of this, what I always call, because I don't know the name of it, your international writing group that you do the write-ins with.
On the copywriting side of things, I'm a member of American Writers and Artists Institute, and there is a program in there called Circle of Success, and several of us were participating in some of the courses that you can take through Circle of Success, and we were looking for ways to be accountable. And so I just put a question out on our Facebook page: who wants to join my group? Yes. And right now we've got I've got somebody in Nigeria, somebody in Australia, somebody in Idaho, and Missouri, Mississippi, North Carolina. We had somebody in West Virginia, but she's taken a break. Anyway, we call ourselves COS Worldwide Buddies. So we meet once a week just to check in, just to see, what are you working on? What do you need some help with? Can we support you in any way? If you need anyone to read what you're writing, we're here for you. We have our own Facebook group, and then we meet once a week to write, because at one point several of the members were asking about, when do you find the time to do these exercises, and when do you find the time to do these things? And I said, I'm in this other group where we meet for write-ins, and maybe we could meet for write-ins. And we started doing it twice a week, and then this past summer we decided to go to once a week. Right. And now that we're doing it in the evening, our friend in Australia can join us, because when we were doing it in the afternoon, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning for him. Right. So now that we're meeting in the evening, it's mid-morning, he can join us. I always think it's just so funny that, just so amazing, really, that we get together and it's the afternoon or the evening for us. It's the middle of the night for our friend in Nigeria, and it's the morning the next day for this friend in Australia.
Amazing.
But it's amazing, and it's fun to listen to the different things that they are learning and hearing, because we're all starting to come in and notice all these other different copywriting organizations and groups and opportunities, and we just really, I think I've been helped a lot with it, because I've been introduced to other things that I could try. And they've been wonderful encouragers to, when I would say, I put out this a bid for this project and it came back no, and everyone would be so encouraging, just keep going, keep trying. Right. So it's just another one of those communities that is filling a need in that part of my writing life. So yeah.
And you made it happen, Susie. All you did was ask this question: who wants to be in my group? What gave you, like, So I've been talking to everybody about this, and some people are saying I'm not interested in creating my own group because of just the time, it's time and effort and everything. And then some people are just like, I don't feel like I'm at the level to lead something like that. So what gave you that feeling, that confidence, and to be the person to say, I think we should meet together, I can make it happen for you?
Well, I think you've mentioned something along this too, that if I have to be there for somebody else, then I have to be there for myself too. And so if I'm scheduling a specific time to write for these other friends of mine, then I can't just sit here and do nothing. It's time for me to write too. Or if I have to go and tell these friends that, yeah, I was supposed to do this last week, but I just sat on my butt and read, books about clans of cats or whatever, then that's really embarrassing. And so it's really a good accountability for me to be able to say, okay, this is what I did this week. So now what did you guys do? And so it's primarily the accountability. And I just don't like to wait for other people to start things, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
So why not?
Right.
Why not? What's the worst that could happen? Nobody would come.
Exactly. Right. Then you're in the same exact position you were when you asked the question. Literally, nothing changes if the worst thing happens. But yeah, you've revealed my great secret to life, Susie. If I need to do something, I need to create a need in everyone else to do the same thing. You guys need to do that too, right? And you too. Why don't we all talk about it next week? Because if you don't say yes, I'm not doing it. If I don't have to talk to you about it later, it's probably not happening. So I love that.
Yeah.
I love hearing about that group all the time. And yeah, I have my Voxer group of ladies that we're international all over the States. And I too have this great fascination of like, what time is it there? What are you doing? What day is it? Yeah. So really, really good stuff. We're talking. So we've both said that this idea of getting together and writing with others helps us show up for ourselves. That accountability is great. But is there a point in your process of writing where you do feel like you absolutely have to write alone, where you're like, okay, for this bit, I'm going to need to like shut the door, get to the page. I promise I'm coming back to you, but is there a time and place for that? Or are you comfortable with always writing like in community?
No, there's absolutely a time for that. And I would think it's primarily when I'm writing a blog post that really has a big emotional background for me. And a lot of times I just have to, as I'm typing, just cry and just type and put it all out, and then come back later and, oh, that doesn't make sense. And no, that, whatever, and do my editing and my revision. But that's primarily the time for me where I just need to shut the office door and, all right, I'm doing something here. Just unless there's blood or fire,
right.
Don't bother me.
Don't bother me. This is my moment. Yeah. I'm similar. Yeah. There's certain things that just are so personal, raw, deep, that I cannot access that part of myself if I feel in any way on, and that could be in a writing group situation, but it also, this past year has been incredibly difficult because I've felt like I've been on 24/7 because the whole family has been here. So it's just, you're always at that any moment I could be needed. It's been really nice to have this time back during the day of like, okay, I can tap into all the things and not get interrupted. So yeah, that's great. Is there, well, I guess the question that I've been asking everybody is, we have 5 different types of meetings that we sort of do in the Happy Campers. We have the goal setting and the write-ins, like we've been talking about, the regular chat, critique. We've had writing prompt parties, talking about our stories. Is there one type of meeting that you feel like served you most, or that you had the most growth in, or is it just sort of the whole shebang?
They all are important, but the one that I think has helped me the most are the writing prompt parties, because I was never a fiction writer. I was a reporter. I wrote other people's stories. I wrote about real life things. I didn't make things up. And so the very first time I went to a writing prompt party, that was the first time in probably 40 years
Wow.
that I'd actually made up a story and wrote it and then read it to people.
Right.
And that's what helped me realize that, you know, I could write a novel.
Right.
I could write a novel. I could write several novels. And it was a big eye opener.
I think it was an eye opener for all of us when you said it. We were like, what? Because I mean, I think one of the things that's really sort of fabulous about reporters in general is that you've been so trained, whether it's through education or experience, to notice all the things and translate them. And so when you come to fiction, while it may not be a physical noticing of things, because like you said, now you have to make it up, I think there's sort of an innate understanding that finding those details in your fiction is important, you know? And so you've out the gate, we were like, wow, you know, like it really just, your stories and your scenes are so alive with all of that sort of richness of place and character. I mean, it's really quite wonderful. So, and like I said, really surprising to us that it's like, wait, you don't write fiction, because it seems so seamless. So yeah, I love that. Talking about your copywriting, how does that experience differ from what you are trying to do creatively and what you're trying to do? And you've been doing that for a while. Like you said, you've been doing the freelancing since did you say your second son was born? So yeah. So
1995. So I'm an old woman.
Please. I also remember the 90s. We're good. Do
you remember the 60s? That's
no question. No. Not unless I can do some sort of like hypnosis and tap into the ancestral timeline here. Right. I've been told many stories about the 60s, so I remember those. But do you find that there's a different way of showing up to your copywriting versus your other writing? Is it difficult to make that transition? You know, like, I don't know. I'm not a copywriter myself. I'm not really writing for others in that way. So how much of it is a departure from any type of personal or creative writing that you're doing?
Well, the result is to basically please a client, and so your writing has to meet their needs, and every project is something different. I've written copy for a steam cleaners carpet cleaning website. I've written copy for a seasonal ice rink website. I've written copy for a musical instrument and recording product seller company, store, whatever. And each of those projects have a very different voice, a very different goal, a very different feeling about them. And the fun part for me is to figure out what that voice is and just learn how to speak the lingo. the carpet cleaning lingo is very different from the music recording business lingo.
Right.
And so learning how to speak that language with each new project is
and how do you do that, Susie? Where do you like research other websites? Do you talk to professionals in the field? What is your process for doing that?
I talk with my client is usually someone who has another client that they're trying to please. And so I meet with their client. We talk for maybe an hour or so. I get a feeling of their personality, their goals, what they want to accomplish. And then it's a lot of research. It's a lot of looking up other websites, competitors' websites. How do they write this? How can I write it the same way, but a little different? That's gonna, and the big thing is to please Google. You gotta please Google too. And that can be hard. That can be difficult. So it's been so much fun learning about all of these processes. And then I get to meet some really, really cool people, some really neat people, primarily folks who have a small business who just want to support their families with their small business. And I can help them do that. And that's what makes me feel really good about what I do.
So in the journey to learning about all of these processes, about, like you said, trying not only to please your clients and to please Google, for anyone out there that is curious and looking to perhaps pursue copywriting as, part of their writing journey, have you been going to one particular space? Do you go to YouTube? Do you Skillshare? Did you take any courses in copywriting?
Oh, Nicole, you know me. I am a course junkie. I will take a course on anything. I have signed up for so many courses. I don't know which ones I'm still in. I don't know. But that's the fun part, right? Is I use Coursera a lot. I use LinkedIn Learning a lot, and then American Writers and Artists that has their own curriculum, and there are all kinds of courses that you can take through there. And being a copywriter to me is just, there's so many opportunities, especially now within the last year and a half, 2 years, where businesses have had to create an online presence. They need someone to write their copy. They need someone to be able to write their emails, because the idea of writing a weekly email to their clients is just abhorrent. They just don't even want to think about it. That's just awful. I can't do that. But there are people out there who that's their specialty, in writing emails. This AWAI, they always come up with, there's usually one webinar a month where here's a new outlet. Here's something new that we as copywriters can do. A few months ago, it was bots. You can specialize in writing the conversations that those bots have. When you go to a website, and you write what the bot comes back with. And you come up with choices. And depending on what the choice is, then you write what the bot says next. And amazing. Or company newsletters, or people still do snail mail things, so you can still write snail mail letters, but mostly it's landing pages, emails, blog posts, copy for websites, that sort of thing, and everybody needs it. So everyone from your local yarn store to the local veterinarian to the local plumber needs copy for their websites. Right. And that's something that they usually don't find enjoyable. And they're willing to pay somebody else to do that.
Yeah. I mean, here in Staten Island, I'm just surrounded by so many guys that I grew up with that are all doing their own business or working HVAC, working plumbing, doing all this. And part of the reason they've all gone into these various trades is because they want nothing to do with all of this, quote unquote office work. So it's clear, if you know anybody that has a small business like this, if you know that person, like they're all over the place, and every single time there's a new small business. But I can absolutely see what you're saying about the last year, because I know personally many people that have sort of gotten away with not being online thus far, but the last year has made it no more. Everybody's got to get out there. So that's great. So the American Writers and Artists Group, is that like one of these, you become a member as you're a copywriter, or is it just a free Facebook community? How does it work if anybody wants to access?
They have courses that they sell, and so they've been around since I think 1997, I think. But they have courses that they sell, and then webinars, and they have a magazine called the Barefoot Writer, and I've written for that magazine.
I know the Barefoot Writer. Yes. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they have a business to business group that you can join, or there's a professional writers alliance that you can join, and
that okay. So that's what I was thinking. It might have been that it alone was a profession. So they are an overarching offering all these services, and then you can also join a professional line. Okay, so that's great. So this is easily accessible to anybody at any level at this point.
Right.
Cool.
And of course, their courses do cost money.
Right.
I mean, you have to pay for them, but they're also, I may be naive, but I feel like I can really get a feeling for if someone is pulling my leg or trying to get one over on me. And I really feel like the folks here, or folks at AWAI, genuinely want you to succeed and make a lot of money writing.
Yeah.
And to show you that you don't have to be a book writer to make a living as a writer.
Yeah.
And I believe that they genuinely have that as their central goal, is to help people make a living as a writer. And I can call them and ask to talk to somebody about a certain issue or whatever. And they're always right there. They're always
Amazing.
right there.
Oh, that's great.
So, yeah, I am a client of theirs. I pay for their services, but I also value their services a lot, which is why I pay for them. So
no, I really thank you for sharing that, because I think I have a tendency to talk very much to the book writers, the poets, and things of that nature. And there is this entire other aspect of writing that could be your career. This is a gainful bit of writing that is available. Like you're saying, so many opportunities available all the time. So any resource to help people sort of learn that world is fantastic. So, and you said your SusieTaylorWrites.com, that's where people would go if they wanted your services as a copywriter?
Yes, excellent. That's it.
Excellent. And you were talking about before we started the interview that you have the Stix-n-Stones blog, but you're also looking to venture out into a Facebook group of Stix-n-Stones. Can you just let everyone know a little bit about your plans there?
Yeah. We experienced something earlier, a few months ago, that no parent wants to experience, and our oldest son died. And I found myself in the middle of, how do I work and still process this? How do I get through the day but still meet my obligations through, whether it's through my other group, my COS Worldwide Buddies, or what. How could I still show up for those things when I don't even want to get out of bed? And I thought, there are a lot of people out there who face situations like that. They're in the middle of a divorce. They've just gotten a terrible medical diagnosis, or they've lost a family member, but they still have to meet obligations. How do they do that? How do you do that? And I'm hoping that this Stix-n-Stones Facebook group will become a place where folks who are dealing with those issues can feel that they can go and vent and get support, and maybe get some ideas on how do you focus on one thing when your mind is only thinking about something else. And I've actually started the group, but there's nobody in there yet because I haven't promoted it at all. But that's the goal. The goal is for this group to become a place for people who are going through some sort of personal tragedy, but they still have to meet other obligations, and supporting them as they go through that.
Yeah. How to deal with life going on when you feel like life is not going on. I mean, I've been there, and I told you, if that group existed a decade or two ago, I definitely could have used it. Even a couple of years ago, there are so many points in our lives where that's the case. I actually remember when my grandmother passed away in 2001. 2001 was a rough year for my family, aside from the fact that, we live in New York City, and I was in a high school across the water when everything happened. By the end of 2001, my paternal grandmother passed away. Actually, you're on video, so I could show you. She actually is sitting next to me right here.
Oh, Nicole.
Yeah, because my protagonist in my protagonist in my current novel is named after her. So she passed away in November of 2001. And to me, it was like one of the last tethers to my father, who I had lost so young. So it was like losing him all over again. And I distinctly remember being at my then boyfriend's, now husband's house on New Year's Eve, approximately like 2 minutes before the ball is dropping, running down to his basement and breaking down. And he was like, "What's happening?" And I said, "How is a new year starting when she's not here anymore?"
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
How? And that was my first experience of exactly what you're talking about. This like defiance against the world. Like, how dare you all try to go to the next year? And don't mind my landscaper. Somebody's mowing the lawn outside. But, so it's happened time and time, and, like it's I think a universal issue that we don't talk about enough. So I don't know if excited is the right word, but I am really excited about this group that you're creating and this space that you are creating for people in such a need. I think everybody listening probably has at least one moment that they can mark and say, I could have used somebody who understood that I was in that moment. So, yes.
Yeah.
So
and your life before an event and your life after an event are so different,
right?
But you still have to meet those obligations. You still have to make dinner,
right?
You still have to do laundry. You still have to mow the grass. You still have to do those things. And I can remember after Evan died, walking up and down the road thinking, how do these neighbors keep going when the world has stopped? And then it's just like they don't know what's going on, and nobody else really knows what's going on except for the folks who I shared it with,
right?
And all those folks who great supports throughout that whole time. And it still hits me. It still hits me every now and then.
Of course.
Like,
I mean,
right now,
goodness.
I'm home.
It's not
Right
that
now, I'm at
long
home
ago.
alone.
Yeah.
And Evan had multiple disabilities. He was blind and used a wheelchair and said maybe 5 words. So he was here all the time.
There was
And
no
now
such
he's
thing
not.
as home alone. No such thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And I still look at the clock and think, oh, I got an hour until I need to give Evan medicine.
Right.
Nope, I don't need to give him medicine. I don't need to. And then on top of that, my youngest son went into Marine boot camp a couple of weeks ago. And he was like my buddy. He was the one who he'd come in here and we would talk for hours. And now I've got he's been gone for 2 weeks and I've written him 2 huge long letters already. And
awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. So it's just a whole different way of getting used to living. And it's nice to have some support to get through that and figure out how to do it.
You are an inspiration in every way, Susie, because you do show up. You continue to show up, and I know that part of the motivation is to sort of to force yourself into it, but it's wonderful. It's wonderful. So, and I know Evan is so proud and so happy and overjoyed to see that all of these plans that you have, all of this work that you're doing. It's amazing. It's amazing. I am so happy to know you. So,
oh, Nicole, you're gonna make me cry.
I'm already there, Susie. I'm already there. But I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to ask you. Oh, the one question that I've been asking everybody as we wrap up. How does Susie Taylor define writing community?
Oh my goodness. The first word I think of is support, presence, empathy. I mean, it's just, it's the writing communities that I am in now are the groups that basically keep me going at this point.
Yeah.
And I don't know where I would be if I didn't have, honestly.
Yeah.
So they mean everything.
Yeah. Timing was really every kind of right for this group. I know for sure, for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Just almost everybody that stepped into Happy Campers has been like, it was like the perfect thing at the perfect moment, including me, and we have larger powers to thank for all of that.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
Yeah, Susie,
I think together we are much more powerful and impactful together than we are alone.
Absolutely. Without question. To me, like I said, my whole purpose in this life is to just keep throwing pebbles in the water, watching the ripples. And like all of us, we're getting close to a wave.
Yeah.
So Susie,
Absolutely.
I can't thank you enough for all of this, for everything always, but for being here and sharing all of your story with everybody. I'm going to put everything in the show notes. We have Stix-n-Stones.com. We have SusieTaylorWrites.com. And on LinkedIn, you are also Susie Taylor over at LinkedIn. Is that right? Or Susie?
I think so.
Okay.
It's either Susie Taylor or Susie A. Taylor.
Either way, I'll put the link in the show notes for people to come find you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, Nicole. I just want to continue to encourage you because you are one of the people who has made such a huge impact in my life in the last several years, and I thank you so much for that. Thank you.
Oh my God, why can't we do hugs on Zoom?
I know. I can't wait to meet you. Like,
I know.
actually meet this whole group. We've all got to just get together.
I need happy camper hugs. That's what has to happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We have talked about going from state to state to state to sort of
Happy
make
camper
a
road trip.
around a happy camper road trip around the country. Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, thank you, Susie.
Thank you, Nicole.
Okay, that is it for this week. I hope you enjoyed Susie and gobbled up all of those resources. I do want to say that since recording, Susie has gotten letters back from her son from boot camp and has been keeping up to date with all of that. So that's been wonderful. Another aspect of writing, letter writing, brought back to life that has been a new joy. And the other thing is that this week and next week, she's been participating in a fantastic boot camp from the organization that she spoke about in this episode, the American Writers and Artists Group. So it sounds like they're a fantastic organization to get hooked up with if you are looking to learn more about copywriting. I put the link in the show notes for you, but I'm sure if you want to reach out to Susie to ask her questions about what she's learning and where else she may want to direct you, again, you can find her in all of those wonderful places like Stix-n-Stones.com and Susie Taylor Writes, or on her LinkedIn profile. But thanks as always for listening. And don't forget, if you're enjoying the podcast, to subscribe, to share, and also, why not, write a review. Thank you so much.